we just had the break, so we're going to move on now to a quick discussion, maybe a 5 or 10 minute discussion. And what I'd like, again, is for each person to go around. If they can share their name, share their discipline, what department or whatnot, and then, just briefly, it doesn't need to be more than 30 seconds or a minute or whatever, but what you found interesting from the Biodesign website, or it could be what you found interesting now, something, maybe some new insight, just, get a feel for what excites you about Biodesign, and then what that, main thought or main reason is that would keep you engaged for this program. So I think it's probably best if, I want to make this as easy as possible, but I guess maybe, is it possible to move the mic around, or?
I have the mic first. Should I go first?
I guess so.
Yeah. Alright, so can you hear me?
I can. Let me just wait 1 second. I just want to put the screen bigger so I can see you.
Hiding behind here.
Oh, there you are. Okay. Hi.
Alright, so my name is Bennett, and I am a first-year medical student. And I guess from skimming the website, I think when I was reading some of the articles, the journal articles that linked out of the website,
yes,
there was an emphasis on, at least a new emphasis on cost analysis with innovation.
Yes.
And I guess it was one of the things I wasn't expecting, so it was interesting to look at that and read into more how the Stanford Biodesign program was implementing this criteria where it was trying to make everything low cost, or the innovations really low cost, and that really interested me. So, all right, I'll pass it.
Oh, real quick, and thanks for sharing. Yeah, I think I'll try not to comment on each one because I could comment for like 5 minutes on each one. But cost benefit analysis. I mean, it's all about healthcare taking cost out of the system these days, right? You can't be just better. You have to be better and cheaper, basically, for anything. And that's actually a big change. 5 years ago, it wasn't. You could just have a better mousetrap, but now you have to have it cheaper and better mousetrap. So, yeah. And just wondering your kind of what's captivating you to do the program.
Yeah, I forgot about that one. So I think the biggest thing that's motivating me is I think this is somewhat of a structured environment, a safe environment to go through the process of innovation and learn some of the steps, but still have some sort of security and safety. And what motivates me is, I think many years from now, or even a year from now, I'll have this background, and I can do it myself. I'll have this knowledge base that can allow me to do it myself. So it's not necessarily that I want to create something or invent something, but it's more I want to be able to walk away and say, oh, I know how to do this, and when I see patients, when I see needs, I can take steps and create a team and go through some of the same process.
Thank you.
Well, I'm Aaron. I'm a master's student in bioengineering. And then what I found interesting about the website, or the way the curriculum was, is that it was like that immersion period, and you're talking about like how they had like MD students or doctors spend time like on R&D team or product development, and vice versa, like engineers in the clinical. And it really shows like you like the big picture, because sometimes like you might have this really cool idea, but it might not be feasible to implement like from R&D, from engineering perspective, or like you have this great idea like you said, but no one really needs it. This program. What I like about this program is I guess it's helping me being open and taking risks, because usually I've been like a more of a like safe approach kind of guy, like going with like the safest option. But I really like this program where I could, I guess, take chances.
Good. And you said your name was Alan?
Aaron.
Alan.
Aaron.
Oh, got it, Aaron. Okay, and thanks so much. And for the next person that's sharing, could maybe you all could kind of sit more at least towards each other, at least the person that's sharing, so that you can also. I know I'm like a massive face on the screen, but that way you can be more focused on also kind of hearing, hearing it directly from your peers. So I think who's speaking next? Maybe just you don't need to look towards me for this part. Just look towards the person speaking.
Hi, my name is Madeline. I'm a first-year undergrad majoring in biochemistry and cell biology. And what intrigues me the most, after seeing the Biodesign website, is there's one of the teams that wishes to improve the healthcare at an outpatient infusion clinic across China. And what's motivated me even more is that we really need to carefully consider each the exact need, and the context and the background of the market. So, for example, we have to examine everything from clinical practices, infrastructure, or the economics of the region. So we can in order to successfully get our solutions to the patients or the customers. So I really think that it's important that the first step is really to get into the market and understand what exactly the healthcare professionals and the patients are doing. Yeah. And what's motivated me the most about this course is I used to think the most important things and the first step of innovation in healthcare are creativity and ideas. That we once have the idea, that we prototype the model, and then we try to bring the product to the market. However, without thinking the need, the actual need of the market, usually leads to failure. So I think it's important. I really want to learn the process of learning how to identify the need, and then based on the need, we'll be able to think of solutions to solve the problems. Yeah. So not necessarily make a profit, by starting a startup or selling the products, without really thinking about what healthcare industries really need.
Hello. My name is Edward. I am, first year mechanical engineering master's student from UCSD. When I was on the website yesterday, actually, one of the companies that started from the Biodesign program called LINC. So it caught my attention because it's pretty much they're making a device that's supposed to prevent night terrors in children. Mm-hmm. And initially, that seems like such a simple need, and you never think that's something people are struggling with. But I was really interested in the way they spun it to engage the patient. And one of their main points was there's not only better sleep for the child, but there's better sleep for the parents. So I think that was a very interesting way to approach and be able to sell the product. So what I hope to get out of this program is meet more people from industry and hear about the risks they had to take, and find out what they had to sacrifice to get where they are. That's I think that's an important step in figuring out if entrepreneurship is something you want to pursue. If you actually hear about what you had to sacrifice, and if that's something you're ready to sacrifice as well.
Thank you. I just want to say really quickly, I was at a this healthcare conference right on Tuesday, and I was at a kind of entrepreneur event, and Andy Rink, who's one of the founders of Lowly, was there. I got to know him when I was in the program, and he was, I think, a year or two after me. But yeah, it's he's a really smart guy, and it's a really cool need. It's really unique. Who would have thought children's night terrors? And now it's it's a very successful company. It's getting there. So just I like how you emphasize you have to find that need, right? Because You wouldn't think that.
They did a very good job trying to, I mean, this is all based on research, but convincing people that there's a difference between nightmares and night terror or sleep terror, and really bringing out the need that otherwise I never would have thought about.
Hi, my name is Niti. I'm a second-year master's student in the ECE department. I'm majoring in medical devices and systems, so that's partly the reason why I'm here in the first place, because the kind of program that I thought it would be wasn't quite how it panned out. So I feel like I enjoyed all of the technical skills that I gained from the program, but I didn't feel like I got anything or enough practical experience, you could say, out of that program in terms of not just the electrical part, but the medical device, the implementation, what goes into the concept stage, and the regulatory aspects, IP, and things like that. So when I saw this program, I thought that could kind of satisfy or like complete that part of my career goals going into industry, but also the aspect of potentially opening up a company or coming up with an actual device at the end of it was also quite exciting for me. And with that said, I think the biggest thing that I really liked about the Biodesign website was just the list of companies that came from the actual Stanford Biodesign program.
I'm sorry, Nikki, you're cutting out just the very last sentence or two.
I said
You're
that.
saying what you liked about Biodesign?
Yeah, the website. I like the list of companies that came from the program in general. So the fact that, yes, they had a lot more time that we do with the full-time program, but still 10 months is still not that long if you think about coming up with an idea that can potentially save so many people's lives. So in the end application, I feel like 10 months is such a small investment of someone's time, and it can have such a big effect on people in the rest of the country and in the world. So I think that's the part that interested me the most.
And just to quickly add on that, I believe it's really impressive if you do go to the website just to see how many companies have come out of it, and also patients treated. I think it's over 500,000 patients have been treated by Biodesign process students that have come up with companies. I think at least 25 companies have been started.
Yeah.
So, and again, I have to keep on reemphasizing this program here, BlueLink. It's not about starting companies. It's really about your training and training you as an entrepreneur and an innovator. And what you want to do with that is your choosing. But it's really important, though. It is about the training. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks.
Hello, my name is Ron Baldwin, and I think from looking through the website, one of the things that I really took to heart was the fact that a lot of, in regard to the strategic focus, a lot of the entrepreneurs who had been through the program said to choose significant problems that were worthy of a solution and to stay away from incremental innovations or advancements. And I think that that's something for me that I really enjoyed hearing, kind of hit home a lot of what you hear too, just in the MBA program here at UCSD, is trying to find something that's really going to be a disruptive innovation and not something that's just going to piggyback on to some of the other advancements that have been within whatever industry you're creating. Because I really do think that that's where you end up gaining your biggest opportunities. And so for me, what I want to get out of this program is to really find a problem that's worthy of my time and to be able to create that innovative solution that will save or significantly enhance the lives of those the problem affects. So I wrote it down just so I could remember it, but it's something that I think is really important. And on top of that, I think I really want to be focused in this program and find an idea that I can stick with, because I think that focus is really important. It's something that I learned. I was able to go and hear Warren Buffett speak through UCSD last year, which was amazing. And one of the things that he talked about was just focus and passion being very critical to success. And so that's something for me that I've really enjoyed entrepreneurship. I know that I enjoy entrepreneurship, and I want to focus in on that and continue to drive towards that until something hits home. So, yep.
Thank you.
My name is Brandon Stanfield, and I think I'm the only person who's not a student in this program. And what drew me to this was basically what I also found going through the website over the last few days is the language of the industry that you're going to gain from this that is going to, as Ron touched on, allow you to make large changes and actually hit on what the big problems are, as opposed to coming in as an outsider and maybe making the observations that a lot of people would, but not the key ones that are going to result in real progress down the road. And in terms of what I'm,
That's just why you want to be part of the program. Number one reason.
I guess the number one reason I want to be part of the program is in the last year and a half, I've been part of a lot of accelerator programs that allowed me to gain what also helped me connect this program, a lot of the ideologies that you can attach to really anything. And in my time in San Francisco, one of the things that really hit home was a program called Indie Bio that focuses a lot on biotech and biological solutions that I just feel make a lot more difference and something I'd like to focus on more as opposed to more of my tech and product background, which allowed me to get very creative, but didn't really hit home very much. And so being able to gain the language of the industry to allow me to bridge that clinical disconnection that you see a lot and see how you can help both the clinician and the patient down the road is very important to me. So.
Great.
My name is Shamal Mehta, and I'm the old man of this group. I have a double master's and a PhD, and I have started up 2 companies. I'm currently at the Rady School, and me, myself and my team, we are starting up something at the Rady Idea Challenge right now. The reason I'm interested in this program is to look at medical devices. I have very little knowledge, and I'm looking to learn from here, to learn something new. I'm mostly self-taught, and I like to learn new stuff. Thank you.
Right. Is that everyone?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I have to say that I'm humbled hearing your backgrounds and your interests, and I hope that each of you also sees all the talent in the room. And I think it's really important because, as I mentioned, this is really where the most learning will occur is from your teammates or your colleagues right here. I'm already forming ideas about how everyone can kind of collaborate. And by no means am I an expert in a lot of these topics. It's just I can facilitate discussions on them and tell you share some of my personal experiences. So please, if something comes up where you may have extra knowledge, extra insight, don't be afraid to share. I would like that actually. If you're like, actually, it's a little different than what you're saying, or whatever the case is, just because things are changing so quickly, it's important that we rely on each other. But I think the grad program has selected a really unique group. So I'm glad that you're choosing to move forward with the class. So And I've taken some notes just so we can kind of discuss things in more detail down the line as we all get to know each other. All right, well, if there's nothing else with that, I am now going to switch gears here for the last part of the class to a presentation. Just check the schedule. Yep, so we just have this more kind of intro to biodesign and needs finding, and then we'll end the class with some assignments. All right, let's do it. So for this section, a number of these slides have been taken and borrowed with permission from the Stanford program. So there may be a few modifications and tweaks for our program here, but for the most part, I think they translate very well. So really the goal of everything we're doing in this course is to develop leaders in biomedical technology innovation. So, this is rooted in entrepreneurship. It's rooted in understanding the healthcare landscape. It's in bringing in more speakers that are real world that you can connect with. It's improving networking with industry and other professionals. So these are all the elements, but in a lot of ways, it is a lot of leadership development, especially because it's a team course. So that's one of the reasons it's unique, in addition to all the different innovation parts to the program. So I think this will be a good open kind of dialogue as to
Garrett?
the differences between. Can you hear me okay?
We can't see the slides.
Thank you. So I wanted to clarify the differences between techs. So what is biotech versus medtech? And there is an important distinction actually. And with biotech, it's more based on drugs for molecular or kind of gene discovery. So it's a little more, it could be the drugs, it could be kind of the development of the drugs or the biologics for biotech. Whereas medtech, as the name implies, it's more actual device and diagnostic focus. So things like catheters and implants and kind of what, even the like surgical equipment and things like that would be under the medtech umbrella. And then these are just some company examples. Amgen, Genentech, or some of the big biotech companies, whereas Medtronic, Stryker, Boston Scientific, NuVasive, which is a spine company in San Diego, major player, those are more of your medical device companies. And it's interesting because they also have different business models. So the process with them is different in that medtech tends to be more need-driven, that, okay, there is a clinical need and we can do this. There's a issue with the heart valve, and we can develop a non-invasive catheter delivery method to replace it, something like that. Whereas in biotech, there's oftentimes kind of a huge scientific discovery or breakthrough, similar to pharmaceutical drug development, where it can take a while to develop. It's not always based on some kind of clinical need that can be approached fairly quickly with a solution. This is not always the case, but just in general, these are some of the differences between biotech and medtech. And it's also longer time horizons. So for medtech, you're looking at, well, I would actually say medtech's more like 3 to 10 years. Maybe this slide's a little old, but it's pretty quick if you can have any type of real product development, at least in a startup, in 3 years. From my knowledge of biotech, it's even longer time horizon because sometimes there's different regulatory requirements than medtech, but in general, it's a little shorter timeline with medtech. And then in terms of the capital needed to bring it to market, it's typically a lot less investment capital, on the order of about 20 to 100 million for a company versus a lot larger amount and more time. So that's one of the reasons why this class will focus on medtech. It doesn't mean that if you're interested in something biotech or there's something biotech that comes up, we're not going to focus on it. But I think just for the kind of the pragmatic standpoint, medtech is an excellent field to go into. Okay, so now we'll get a little deeper here. We talked about how our class overview will basically, have the identification phase of the needs for all of this quarter. Invention will be split up between the 2 quarters, where at the end of this quarter, we want to have some concepts, and then the implementation phase in the spring quarter. So this is a very, 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 very important slide. It says that a well-characterized need is the DNA of a good invention. A well-characterized need is the DNA of a good invention. This is one of Paul Yock's quotes, the founder of Biodesign, and it's really important because if you don't have that DNA right in the beginning, you're going to go completely off track. So the importance of the need and the need statement can't be underestimated. We already talked through these slides a little bit since we had gone in depth on the syllabus, but we talked about picking a need, verifying and validating that need, quantifying the potential benefit, and then we're going to talk about how you can assess what's the criteria for the screening, and then you're going to create a written needs specification. And what that means is that once you have a certain need statement, then beyond that you're going to have a need specification which even defines further the space that the solution should sit in. And I'll get more into this. The next 2 lectures, I'm going to be there. It's going to be really hands-on, and we can kind of go through all of these next week in more detail. Invent, we already talked about this. I should emphasize the importance again of the prototyping stage. We'll make sure that we have supplies and things to do prototyping. Any type of in vivo or in vitro modeling, this is actually really important, is if you can even just do a little bit of testing with your prototype to show that there's some safety or it works, your device, your idea works, in some small way. That can go a long way in terms of getting some kind of proof of concept and some type of momentum and validation that makes things move forward in the process. There's also a criteria for screening the inventions that we'll get into later in the class, and to create a concept specification, which is similar to creating the need specification, but for the concept. And then if you haven't heard this already, we talked about the implementation phase, the financial modeling, the funds forecasting, research strategy, marketing strategy, clinical regulatory strategy, ethical considerations. That actually did not come up, but that's extremely important. Can't tell you the amount of times sometimes you're skating on thin ice in terms of when you're charting a new water. You could be skating on really thin ice, not knowing if everything's above book or but you want to get it done quick. So just making sure that everything's as ethical as possible, and all of your IRB institutional review boards are in and up to date and things like that. Management planning, business project plan. We kind of talked about this. Then I think actually this slide is I think interesting for developing tools in different countries. So if you actually go down to the global side of things, like say in China or India, you can do, just as an example, and unfortunately for this class we don't have the means to do this, but you can go into extremely limited settings, no access to care, and you can actually do needs finding in these areas. And I've actually had the privilege to do this in India. And it was incredible because, you'll see problems that, like, you think they're maybe big problems, but they're not seen culturally as a big problem. Like, we were working on a jaundice project, which jaundice can change, it can be dangerous to infants and kind of change their skin color. And we thought that this would be such a big, it was reported that many like Indian families couldn't tell if their child had jaundice or not, and so it was underreported. And we did all this work there, but we realized that it's not, in fact, seen as that big of an issue. There's other bigger issues. So, there could be another issue though, where maybe you're doing needs finding somewhere in China or India, and there's a need that fits both in that market, but it could also apply in low resource markets like the U.S. safety net. There's a number of safety net hospitals, and then also even in kind of tertiary care centers. So the point here is that you can apply this biodesign process to multiple different market segments or countries. But clearly for this class, we're just going to be focusing on the U.S. Basically UCSD medical center types of hospitals. And this is just a question to reflect on. We don't need to go into it right now because we just had a discussion, but how does your discipline and expertise influence your approach to biodesign innovation? How does your discipline and expertise influence your approach to biodesign innovation? So I think it's interesting because in a way it's a blessing and a curse. We kind of have our own skills from whatever discipline, and we know how to attack it at that angle, but we may not know, there may be some blind spots, and that's where I think the team environment will come in, where you guys can enhance each other's expertise and give different, cross-disciplinary perspectives. But I guess I would also just say be open to, even if you are a business student or whatnot, maybe you'll come alive doing some prototyping, or if you're a clinician, maybe you'll really enjoy the business, different business model analysis. So it's good to know kind of what you like to do, what your discipline has taught you, but then be open to new things that you're going to learn out of this process. Okay. So now we're moving into the need identification phase. So this consists of three things. The first is an observation. So this is, imagine you're in the UCSD hospital right now, and you're in the radiology department, and you're observing things. So this is basically observational accounts, just observations that you would write down. It's that simple. So it could just be like, that Dr. X is, running 5 minutes late to a procedure, right? It could just be something as simple like that. It could be a patient is, having a life-threatening issue from a surgical procedure. But this is a very important point. So an observation is basically what you observe. It's just natural. I saw this, I saw that. What I want to get to, and for the sake of time, I'm going to go straight to the need statement. Is you go from observation, so things that you write down, to a need statement, okay? And the difference is that a need statement ties in your observation to a measurable outcome. I'll say that again. So the need statement is, I'm trying to simplify it even further. Need statement is problem plus measurable outcome. So an example would be that with that example of that patient who's having some life-threatening procedure, rather a life-threatening complication from a procedure, an observation would be that patient is having a life-threatening complication. Okay? Or, yeah, let's just keep it, that patient is having a life-threatening complication. The need statement would come in and say, that patient is having a life-threatening complication that where basically, you know, he needs to be, I'm just trying to make up some radiology procedure right now, but, you know, basically he has some type of like, you know, bleeding risk. And so the quantifiable measurement is maybe he needs to go back from, you know, to a normal blood pressure, okay? So it's basically tying in that the patient that's having the life-threatening complication, that's the observation, or kind of now the need, is tied into the clinical outcome for the need statement. So it needs to be, basically that they're, it's a measurable quality or measurable problem that's being solved with the blood. So, sorry, this is not the most clear-cut example here. I thought I had more slides. This actually isn't too bad here. We don't look into the background yet, but just look at this need statement. So, a method to reduce the incidence of pressure ulcers for patients in the acute setting. Okay, so you know, we all know, or I think we know, a lot of acute care facilities have issues with pressure ulcers. If you don't turn the patients over, they get all types of ulcers, and you can see from this background data, you know, 2.5 million patients each year. 60,000 patients are estimated to die from these complications. The annual cost is, you know, over $10 billion, and there's some issues with, you know, reimbursement and Medicare. So that puts some more like meat into the need statement. But for this, you would want to tie it in better to a quantifiable outcome. So the need is a method to reduce the incidence of pressure ulcers for patients in the acute care setting. So to me, that sounds like a good kind of problem, but what does it mean to reduce the incidence? So you would actually want, and this is where you would focus in when you have your kind of need statements, what you're going to work on and play on, is that you want to come up with a value or some type of outcome that would be a success if you could check that box. So maybe it's reducing the incidence by 50% of pressure ulcers. I don't know, I'm just making that number up. But unless you have a need tied to a quantifiable outcome, it's not really a true kind of need statement, if that makes sense. So a lot of the class will be focused, and this program will be focused on when we have the different clinical needs and observations that are coming from you know, different clinicians at UCSD, and then maybe if you have some of your own ideas or own needs that you've thought of before, kind of bringing them together and then really looking at it like, well, is this actually really a need statement, or is it really just an observation, or is it really just a problem? And we'll go through this. It actually takes time to get the hang of it. So this is something we will definitely go through next week. And yeah, so this is also, I think, a good exercise to think about is, you know, if you had a month to research this particular need, to learn all about ulcers and issues going on, how would you invest your time and effort to create a team and to develop a solution to this problem? What do you do during this month? So the idea is that we're going to teach you in the next classes how you can look at find the answers to different specific questions so that you can identify if these are true need statements and kind of how you get to that data as soon as possible. So I think I've never taught need statements over Skype like this, and to be honest, it's very difficult because I'm not there in person, like writing on the board. So I think we should save the majority of this discussion for next week. But we have about 5 minutes left. I don't know if you want to take if you have any specific questions over need statements. What I definitely recommend is going online, and I think it's on ebiodesign.org. I think it's section 1.3. That's all about the need statement. So you can watch some videos on there that will clarify things before class next week. And also, if you have a biodesign textbook, if everyone can read up through the need statement, which I think again is through chapter 1. But please do that, and that'll kind of fill in the gaps in this presentation here. And I think that's all I had. The only other thing in terms of an assignment is I wanted you to think through if there's different areas that you've been exposed to in the past with medicine or clinical ideas or areas, and really, if you have some observations, and again, I apologize because I've only taught this when there's like a full immersion going on, but we're going to make a way to have this work beautifully. So I think part of that will have to do with you, each of you, spending a little bit of time before Tuesday, and I'd like you to think through things that have excited you in the past about problems in medicine, or areas that you think are interesting. Ideally, it would be nice if you had some type of clinical problem or some type of something in reality that you've seen firsthand. It can also be if you haven't observed it. But the more grittier it is in the sense of it's kind of tangible, I think the better. Like if you've seen something in the hospital, or your mom went through something, or whatever it is, like think about those kind of instances. And it's really not so much about could I come up with something to solve it. It's more about, God, that was a terrible need. That was a terrible problem. Like, what was going on there? And so I guess what I'm asking is if you can come up with, I'll just put a number on it. If you can come up with just 5 observations, okay, each, about observing something with medicine. So it could be something you've observed in the past. My grandmother had a knee injury, and there should be a better way for to prevent reoperations for knee surgeries, or something like that. I'm just making it up. But I think if you can come up with 5 observations like that, and then if you can, on top of that, try to think of 3 on top of that are actually kind of intriguing, like problems. Like the first kind of things are just more like overall observations. Maybe maybe these could be like big enough problems or whatever, but then come up with another 3 that's more like, okay, this is kind of what I really like maybe want to focus on. Or and the whole idea is that it just gets you thinking about what type of clinical areas that you think need solutions, right? Need solving, and ways you can look at that in terms of how important they are. is you can think about it in the simplest way is, do they affect a lot of people, right? So number one, do they affect a lot of people? Number two, do they, like how severe of a condition are you, would you be treating? Is it diabetes? Is it heart failure? And then the money factor. So could you save a lot of money? We were talking about cost effectiveness earlier. Can you save a lot of money out of the healthcare system, right? Or would it make a lot of money as a product on the market? So this is very much a touchy-feely exercise. I want you to start thinking about that. Look for 5 observations, either in ideally something that you've seen yourself, but if not, you can make the observations off of, looking into clinical problems on the internet. And then I want you to kind of come up with 3 kind of what you think are kind of interesting, problems. Now, these don't have to be need statements, so you don't have to have it tied into the outcome yet, but I just want to get everyone thinking along those lines. So, and hopefully I haven't thoroughly confused everyone. I apologize, but it's just a different way of presenting this that I've ever done. Maybe before we break, I can just take a couple questions, at least one before we break.